All righty. Hey, what's up, everybody? I am now up and live. Sorry for the delay. My dog recently had surgery, and I'm the only one that can carry the dog, and she's not allowed to go up and down stairs, so I had to take care of that. And I'm just now noticing that this little bit of artwork is really glary, so I'm gonna take this little piece down. This is not good for this time of day. Okay, it's a little bit better. Still got a little bit of glare going on, but not too bad. All right, let's see who's in the room. Let's see who we have in the room. Angelo. Oh, by the way, I do have slow mode on this thing here. Can everybody hear me okay? Can I get some thumbs up? Looks like I'm good. Hey, Jason. MLG. Starhawk, what's up? Anon, nice to see you. Thanks for your help today. I think I saw, Young Blues around here somewhere. Excellent, excellent. It's a little bit past 9 a.m. here. It's probably not going to be too noisy. Once the kids next door start up, we might get a little bit of interference. So let me know if there's too much noise going on. Yeah, the picture is very bright. I'm noticing that too. The light is, there's that light there. There's that light there. Let's see here. Hold on a sec. Turn those off. That's a little less glary. Little less. But yeah, it's morning, and I have these big windows going this way, so it's the way that goes. Thank you, Anon. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Still a little glary. Move the whole thing that way. All right, cool. Yeah, I hate to get when I wash out like that. So I don't really have an agenda today. I haven't been active as much lately, mostly because of work. I've been on the road, been getting a lot of stuff done that way. I actually have two short pieces that I'm assembling together today of stuff I did over a month ago that's just been sitting around, but because I hit the road and started working, I never got a chance to really put it together. So I have one piece that has some equinox footage, and then one short refraction piece demo that, like I said, I put these together a month ago, but they've just been sitting. Hey, Fred, rainbows don't prove the dome. But so I'm editing those together right now. Just a quick one. They're going to be kind of rough, but I don't like the fact that they've been sitting around for a while, and they're getting less relevant. So I figured I'd get those out to you. I also have another one that I'm putting together. A second response to Antonio. Mainly I would have put it out over a week ago, but I wanted to put out a couple more videos of substance before I did a more personal one. And the reason I'm putting this together, because he decided to respond to mine, and he did some amazingly horrible things in his video that he didn't even notice that he did. There's some blatant lying going on, and it's really kind of funny. So I wanted to just point those out, and that should put the end to that conversation. Yes, Bin's Lamb, you make a rainbow with your garden hose, but Fred will tell you that it's impossible to make a rainbow without having a reflective surface behind you or nearby. So when you're making a rainbow with your garden hose, he thinks it's the refraction is coming through the off the dome behind you, and that's causing the rainbow. He thinks it's physically impossible to make a rainbow on the inside without some type of reflective surface, which is not true. But he insists on that. We've had this conversation before. Hmm. By the way, did anyone? I got your message, Young Blue. Thank you. You didn't have to do that. I trust you to do what you do. Um, so, anybody catch my surprise video yesterday with Godless Engineer? And it's funny, the way that one came about was uh, I've done enough things on young Mr. Marble that I get notifications. Things pop up, there's recommendations. And that video came up, and I hadn't seen his last few videos. I just don't follow, but that one came up, and I saw that what the title was. And so I watched the video, and I had already done a little bit on that topic, which is why I was able to turn that one around so quickly, because I actually have that whole segment about zooming in on the Earth. I've already got that footage. I did that on a previous video, and so I quickly I said, okay, I want to do this. I wrote up a quick script for myself, and I thought, you know what, if I produce this video, Marble's never going to watch it. He'll never watch it, because he's because I'm his Candyman or whatever. He's you say my name too much, and he's afraid I'm going to appear. So I figured, well, if I want him to watch it, maybe I'll send it to Godless Engineer, and he can put it up. So I hit him up on Twitter and said, hey, I have this idea. I've already written this thing up. I'm going to record it this afternoon. How about you put it up as a response to Marble, since he called you out directly? And he said, that's awesome. So I went and recorded it, sent him my spot. He plugged in the beginning, he plugged in the end, and we put it up. And I just love the idea of Marble thinking he's going to get to see a response from Godless Engineer, and then having my mug show up and just watching him die a little bit. Just knowing that he'll die a little bit when he sees that is just hilarious to me. So that's how that came about. I literally just approached him and said, hey, how about you put this video up? It looks like a question from Starhawk Flying Bright. Why are there significantly way lesser Asian flat earthers? Is it because of the educational system? Probably, to a certain degree, it's probably about the educational system. We also don't have at least as far as I know, especially in places like uh, Japan and probably even China. They don't have they haven't had a system of how do I describe the last dozen 20 years of politics in this country, especially when it came through the Bush years. There was literally promotion of intellectual incuriosity. It was just like being smart was looked down upon. Being an intellectual was poo-pooed. You had to be a down-to-earth person that just had common sense. So education became kind of a bad word for a generation. This whole idea of actually trusting experts, because experts were telling the politicians what they didn't want to hear. So you started as a system, our politics started telling us to not trust the experts. And you have a generation of people who were raised and told don't trust the experts. So I don't think they have that so much. Mainly, a lot of times when you have a lot of government controlled education, they're telling you to trust the experts because the experts are in line with them. So that's not necessarily a great thing. But a trust in the scientific and educational establishment is I think is probably greater over there. Not only that, there is the fundamentals of education, and that is probably pushed more. So yes, yeah. Anybody who has a question that looks like, I mean, you can put it up, but if it looks like I'm not seeing it, because I'm going to be trying my best to kind of direct the camera. If it looks like I'm not seeing it, direct it to Anon or to Young Blue Skeptic if he's on there, and they'll kind of queue it up for me, and they'll hit me up on the side, so then I can have a chance to look at them without just scrolling through and missing you guys. I'm not ignoring you guys on purpose. It's just that these guys are, even though I have it in slow mode, sometimes these things come pretty quickly, and I don't want to ignore you guys. So let's see. Is there anything else? So yeah. So anyway, getting back to what I was saying before. That's how that video came about. I thought it was great. I'd like to do more of those. And actually, some of you, this just popped in my head. Maybe through the channel here, probably not so much, but maybe on the basic comments on some of my other videos. Hit me up with other live streams that happen during the week that you know of that are pretty good. Either done by flat earthers, by creationists, or by globe proponents, by other scientific people that happen during the week. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to want to probably just, look in on some of these, and maybe even, I haven't swatted anybody a lot of, so I don't know what IPS is. So any live streams that I might want to check out, and then maybe even, try to hop in on, let me know. I'm curious about who else is out there. Curious is because one thing people say, and I generally don't have time for these things, is like, why don't you talk to these people? Why don't you debate? But I am more interested in maybe hopping in, maybe surprising some people on their live streams. So list them out for me, send them to me, and I'll check them out, and maybe you'll see me pop up on those. Hey, Young Blue. Let's see. Justin's enjoying the videos of Cyban Down. I enjoy his. Well, I don't actually watch them much anymore. I watched early on, but he's putting them up on a fairly regular basis. My wife actually watches them. She tells me when he has a good one. I actually just don't have a lot of time to watch other people's videos unless they've been suggested to me as something that would be worth me watching. But yeah, I either I spend a lot of time on my full-time job these days, and outside of that, if I'm not trying to put together one of my own, or researching for one of my own, or training, or teaching, or just hanging out with the fam, I don't have a lot of time for extra videos. Let's see. So, if there's any particular questions, there's some that I got as on my video channels that I will respond to. There's more in questions. Thank you. Let's see. I don't see there. Excellent. All right. Sorry about that. Little housekeeping. Have I always lived in? Asking if I've always lived in San Francisco. Well, so I'm in Oakland. Let's just get that. Let's get that right. If you're going to talk about the Bay Area, there's San Francisco and there's Oakland, and there's a difference. But no, I'm originally from. I was born in San Antonio, Texas. I was born on Laughlin Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. During the Vietnam era. My father was stationed there. He was in the Air Force. As far as I know, he was in Air Force intelligence. So he wasn't a pilot. He was, he did other things, which have not been told to me. I'm 50 years old, and I have not been told the things that my father was doing during the Vietnam War and post Vietnam War. But so I was born in Laughlin Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. Then moved to Des Moines, Iowa, where I spent most of my youth up until the age of 12 or 13. Then we moved out here to Oakland, and I've been in California ever since. I've moved, to different cities, but I've been in this area ever since. So I pretty much consider myself from Oakland since I started here as a teen. Yes, D Marvel and Vegan Warrior have a live chat on Fridays. I'm considering it, but I don't necessarily want to be an instigator. And I know I sound disingenuous when I say that, but I am considering it. Uh, yeah, I do know about that one, and I know about Nathan Oakley's, but I I just can't stand that guy. I literally just cannot. There's like, for example, in terms of, I'm getting a lot of pings over here. Let's see. Um, you'll probably be surprised, but given the people who I've had the most interaction with, like say D Marble, and how it seems so, hey, what's up from Iowa City? Uh, D Marble and I seem so contentious. Uh, it's as far as I know, it's really just one sided. That's on his side. I actually have no animosity toward him whatsoever. I know a lot of people like him. He reminds me of, he's like, yeah, like a cousin, like a like a younger brother to me in terms of just like that personality. So I don't have anything. Actually, literally, don't have any personal issues with him. So I wouldn't have a problem with having a live chat with him, to having lunch with him. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Nathan Oakley, though, I think is a disingenuous dirtbag, and I don't have any tolerance for that type of personality. So yeah, literally just because I dislike him so much, that's why I wouldn't do something with him. So so we got a lot of pop going on. Let's see some questions here. New messages. Grace up, do you do most of your own graphic work, illustrations, findability? Yes. Yeah. Jason Crowley's asking, do I do most of my own graphic work, Illustrator, etc.? I find your ability to visually present your material something that sets you apart. Well, good, because literally that's what I do for a living. I do presentation design. I'm an illustrator by trade. I mean, by study. And design, but I do presentation design for litigation, for court cases, for lawyers and judges. The place I work for, we're hired by lawyers to help them craft their story, turn it into some type of visual piece so it's easier to explain to a jury or a judge. We do with a lot of new things. We do a lot of new technology stuff. There's a lot of intellectual property things we're dealing with. And so, since juries and judges tend to be a little bit older, they may not be, like in line with like cutting edge stuff. So we help teach them. We do a lot of tutorials, especially me. I do a lot of tutorial work, explaining the technology, the scientific principles, or whatever behind the patent, behind the argument, so that when it comes time to judge the case, they have the information. So kind of visually explaining things is what I do for a living. So let's see, and let's see if anybody, just quick shout outs. Bum, 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 bum. Before I get to any other questions. Yes, again, post questions to Anon and to Young Blue, and they'll filter it. So let's see what else we got going on here. Bum, 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 bum. Did you think about an experimentation to prove the effect of gravity on water, which would show why the sea is leveled on a globe. Let's see. Did I think about doing experimentation to prove the effect on gravity on water? Well, the problem is, yeah, and okay, with that question from Alejandro, the problem with doing an experiment with water showing the effect of gravity on water is that it's everything that we do is within the gravitational field of the Earth. You know, I if I wanted to truly do an experiment on the effect of gravity on water, I would have to get myself into free fall, get free fall, so I'm not dealing with the effects so much of the Earth's gravity, kind of isolated from it, and then introduce a more localized form of gravity to try to do it. But the problem is, anything I could deal with, anything I could handle, anything a human being can handle, is not massive enough to have its own gravitational field. That's the whole point of gravity. Gravity is a very weak force. People say, if gravity's so strong, why can this happen? Gravity is a very weak force, and you need a whole lot of it in order to be effective. And so I can have a mass of 100, of 100 kilograms. Yeah, like I'm going to hold 100 kilograms in my hand like this, but I'm not that strong. But I can have a mass of 100 kilograms. There's not a lot of gravity in 100 kilograms. So I can't show the effect of gravity on something that small. No matter what amount of water I'm able to get around to gather, there is not much mass to influence here, thus not much gravity is affecting. So it would be very difficult to do so. That's why I did the ferrofluid demonstration, because it's a proof of a concept that that flat earthers claim is not possible. The idea that a force can pull a liquid. They like to say, well, that's not water. Water is just a liquid. Water is not special magic liquid. It's just a liquid. It's very low viscosity liquid, but it's just a liquid. And to show that a liquid can be drawn in by an invisible force toward a central spot is the point. It's not claiming that gravity is magnetic or otherwise, just that a liquid being influenced by a centralized force will conform to the shape of what it's on. And let's see here. Got a few things popping on. I am going to uh, ignore all of you for just a second because I have a given my job, I have a case that's going back into effect tomorrow that I'm working on, and so I'm getting notices from work while I'm up here, and I need to follow up on something. So let me pull up. Uh, so I need to answer a message that is work related right now. So please excuse me. Okay, sorry, I had to do that there. You know what they say. Lord loves a working man. I'm not going to follow up with a. I don't know if are you familiar with Steve Martin's The Jerk? There's a phrase that goes with that, but I'm not going to say it just because some of you guys like to accuse me of, not you guys, but a lot of people like to accuse me of racism. And if I follow up with the phrase that comes after Lord loves a working man, you'll accuse me of racism. Okay, so back to some of these. Just back and forth with work going on, so apologies. Let's see. Okay, screw back here. Got that one. Have I seen Dale's latest video acting as if you were trying to prove gravity was fair? No, I haven't seen that one. Can somebody send me a link separately? I haven't seen that. I don't follow Dell. He's just some people. So yeah, someone said, or I'll look for it, but no, I haven't seen that one. Uh, who is my favorite? Angelo asks, "Who's my favorite flat earther?" Depends on what you mean by favorite. Uh, Personality wise, I happen to like D Marble. He's good at what he does. He's personable. Uh, People like him because he seems like a cool guy. Um, Sadly, he's speaking nonsense, but personality wise, I don't have an issue with him. Uh, let's see. So I would say probably him. Uh, can if I want to try the refraction laser experiment again with a stronger refracting agent, liquid butane. Um, I don't know. The whole refracting thing I did was just kind of a proof of concept. I have another refraction bit that I'm going to be putting out today because someone claimed that it's just not possible to show something being refracted going up due to being refracted through a denser medium. It's just the real world doesn't show it that way, and so I did a real world experiment showing that yes, if you put yourself into a denser medium, light will refract. The light refracts down, and thus the object will appear higher. So I did a demonstration, little experiment of that. So so I will be doing that. But yeah, a stronger refracting agent. I'm not sure. I think if I were to do another refraction experiment, I would want to be able to show the accumulation of refraction over distance somehow. I think that's important. Let's see. Ba-ba-ba. Illustration work. Will I do more? Am I going to do more collaborations with Godless Engineer? Probably. These collabs are fun. Let's see. Yes. Will I be covering some more non-flat Earth subjects on my channel? Uh, yes. That's one of my goals. I kind of figured out a way of setting up a nice picture-in-picture reaction uh, a video setup without buying any new software, just using the QuickTime that I have. So I figured that out. So I'll probably be doing those. Um, you guys do not understand how much of a massive comic superhero geek I am. And sci-fi geek. So probably get into more of that. And then, of course, once whenever the political seasons roll around, you'll see me talking more and more about politics. Even though that's where me and my fan base tend to differ. A lot of people who are fans of mine um, seem to be more on the conservative side because that's just the way things work sometimes. And these conspiracy movements sometimes are so fringe. So the people who are actively against them tend to be a little bit more conservative. So I tend to end up uh, diverging from my fan base a lot when I start talking politics because I'm a fairly liberal guy. I just am. And now the glare is starting back up again. Let me figure something out. That's annoying. So we'll be getting to that. For example, the recent bombing guy. I'd like to talk about that a little bit. I'm gonna go through more of your questions first, though, before I start talking about my own topics. Thanks for a T-shirt. Am I having any luck with the ticket company? What were they called again? Zing events. They have thoroughly washed their hands of the entire situation. They have basically said, track the guy down. You have to track the guy down. Um, but we're done. We did what we were supposed to do. We recognize that fraud took place, but we're done. So that's what Zing has said. But I've contacted the FBI. Contacted international internet crime people, and they've basically said, okay, we're looking into it. And when I spoke to an FBI agent directly, for a good long time, and I basically walked him through everything that was done and everything that I did since, and he said, "You've pretty much done everything you can do." There's, you know, because my one reason I didn't want to, I had done the online form, I had done all that, but I wanted to talk to someone in person, not in person, but by phone at least, just to ask, just to find out, okay, you've seen this stuff happen before. Are there any steps that I should be taking or can take to continue, to pursue this? And the agent basically said, we walked through everything. He says, that's pretty much it. You've done everything that you can actually do other than physically drive around and try to find this person. So, it's in our hands now, and we'll let you know if anything comes up. That's literally what I was told. Let's see. And I'm glad you like the t-shirt. Got t-shirts right here. Yeah. What was your reaction when you found the first time people were still believing in flat Earth? My reaction first time I found out people were still believing in flat Earth. I wish I could remember what my reaction was. But I think it was uh, back during the moon. I was doing moon landing denial videos and dealing with them and being. I used to have a lot when I was a contractor before I was a full time working full time. I had a lot more time to be online, and so I was doing a lot of back and forth in the comment threads. And yeah, I can't remember who it was, but we were talking about the moon landing and low Earth orbit or whatever, and the person just kind of dropped that it has to be fake because it's impossible to go in orbit with there being like a dome, over the Earth. And it was, um, I'm sorry, what? No, did you just say that the Earth? Are you telling me you think the Earth was flat? Um, and so yeah, and so then I started getting more. And then it just started to grow. You started getting more and more, and so then that's when I did my first flat Earth video, the Aristosthenes video. But yeah, it was just one of those things where you thought you were having a conversation on one level about um, whether or not the evidence shows what it shows, and then you find out that it's completely impossible to have a conversation with this person because they disagree on the fundamental physics of the situation. It's like, oh, we're in a different world now. Yeah. So, what's a philosophy you live by? Let's see. That's a good question. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out a way of. Well, one, this is a philosophy I live by. This phrase that I came up with is the reason I came up with it is because I was trying to. That's my thinking is critical because sense is not common. Um, the reason I came up with it is because I was trying to distill down uh, my thoughts about why we need to have these intellectual conversations. So this is a personal philosophy of mine. Um, let's see. If you can, I can't remember who said it, but it's something I expressed to my son. I don't do it as much anymore, but before he went to school every day, literally every day I would drive him to school. And before he got out of the car, or even sometimes he would get out of the car and I would call him back to the car, I would say, try to learn something new today. Try to help someone learn today. Have fun every day before school. And that's really something I wanted to instill in him because that's what I try to do. It's like if you can learn something new, if you can help someone else, especially if you can help someone else learn something, and you can do it and enjoy yourself during, that's life. That's what you should want to do. So that's something I tried to instill in my kid early on. So if that's probably as close to a one of the philosophies that I have. So this and that. Uh, so there you go. Let's see. Do you ever see an evidentiary-based payoff coming in which Effie's must concede, or are they willfully ignorant, predestined to confirmation bias? That's from Jason Crowley. I think he kind of said it right there. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Dan. There's a guy who comments a lot, Dan something, and he said in the threads the other day that he is going to be a flat earther till he forever. There is nothing that can happen that will change his mind. He is settled. It is fact, and there's nothing that anyone can ever show that will change his mind. And and that's what you're saying right there. They're kind of woefully ignorant and predestined to confirmation bias because you can show them something. They say, "I want to see this. Show me the Earth from space," and you say, "Okay, here it is," and they go, "Oh no, that's fake." Okay, so if you're going to automatically just say ask for something but then deny the thing you asked for, then why are you asking for these things? Because they don't actually want to see this information. Um, so yeah, confirmation bias. It's always possible. It's always possible, especially with the younger people who are going through a period of curiosity and looking for information that will change their mind. People change religions all the time. People change political affiliations all the time. So it's possible. So all depends on what their motivation is. If generally those who are religious based kind of flat earthers, um, I don't think there's much chance of them changing. So you have people like D. Marble, who's both a religiously based flat earther because he talks a lot about what Scripture says, and anybody who uses the word Scripture in referring to the Bible is putting a holy level on it. If I talk about the Bible, I say, well, the Bible says this about something. That just means I'm saying it. That as a book is saying it. But if you say, well, Scripture says this, that means you've elevated it to something of a tremendous importance to you. So he's both a biblical, a religious flat earther and a personal worldview, um, you know, uh, warrior against the man type of a flat earther, which means that he's taken it as a personal philosophy. It's part of his own self worth that he be in this battle. So he's probably never going to change his. That type of person is never going to change their mind. Let's see. Bum 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 bum. Love from your work, but why do you debate stupid? What do we gain from debating stupid? Well, I try not to debate stupid, because yeah, you sit there and it's because that is the most actually to actively debate someone who is like that way is there's so much frustration in it. I prefer to have kind of um, set exchanges so I can see what they're saying and then try to craft things for them. But most of the reason I do this is not for the stupid, the flat earther. It's for the other people who are looking for information. There are a lot of young people, uh, especially, and I'm sure like young Boo Skeptic can attest to this, who go to the internet for their information. That's what they don't necessarily don't go to the library, they don't go to their teacher, they go to the internet for their information. And when they're incredibly curious, they take in a lot of information and they can go on all sorts of avenues of exploration. And if if one of their friends or somebody or a celebrity that they admire has said something about the earth being flat, they're going to go look it up. And they may not have a particular point of view about it, but they're going to go look it up. And if they search flat earth, or they hear about a flat earther and they search that person's name, the videos are going to pop up and they're going to start looking at it. I am incredibly happy that if you look up D Marble, if you look up Ranty Flat Earth, um, and you go to you search for them, I'm on the same screen within usually one of the first couple videos uh, is one of mine. So when they look for that information, they see my information right there. So there's an argument, a counter argument being shown to them. Um, And if they go by number of views, oftentimes the number of views goes to me, so they might look at mine first. So I'm doing this as a repository of information for people who are actually curious. I'm just making use of the flat Earth arguments, but I'm not. I honestly have no illusion that I'm going to change the flat earther's mind when I'm discussing their video. Let's see. Yes. Canadian Fabe. I hope we will see some collaborations with you and Young Blue Skeptic. Yes, I think he's going to be incredibly influential over the years. Do you feel qualified to destroy the Flirt's misuse, abuse, and concept of perspective? Yes, yes. As an illustrator and designer, I do. Have I seen Slice Barkane's video of curved surface will bend the light more than a flat surface? I don't think I've seen that one, so maybe somebody can drop me a link to that. My thoughts on Nibiru. I think I was spelled incorrectly. You're talking about our hidden planets out there? It depends on what you mean. Are you there's the idea that there's this kind of stealth planet that just kind of shows up in the sky every so often. This kind of oh look, that slight haze in between through the clouds, that's Nibiru revealing itself, like it's some mystical land that only appears every 20 years or something. That kind of thing, that's nonsense. But the idea that there are other planets out there like that aren't that are in extreme orbits, that are maybe hidden, which we've learned are hidden in the asteroid belt, or even in the the Oort cloud, that that could technically be considered planets because they are bigger than Pluto or have more consistent shape. Maybe they pulled some things into orbit amongst themselves. That's completely possible. Whether or not it's Nibiru is a different thing altogether. But learning of new planets and refining our definition of what a planet is going to happen. We've done it before, and so other things may fall into that. It may get to the point where we redefine a planet again, and Pluto gets back in as a major planet, as opposed to just being a minor one. Let's see. Where's that Nibiru one? Let me get this back in here. Perspective. Genie and had 3 wishes. What would they be? I know. Genie and wishes. I can't ask for more wishes. Can I ask for more genies? Just saying. Let's see. I'll think about that one. Let's see. Have I ever on or off video lost your temper when discussing flat Earth? And I haven't. That's why I'm angry all the time. Truly lost my I truly lost my temper. No. Sometimes I like to rant. I mean, I love a good rant. And so sometimes when I rant about something, people mistake it for being angry, like emotionally angry, as opposed to like intellectually, disgusted or something. But no. But that's one reason why I don't debate flat earthers, because they are so angering. When someone is so bullheaded, and you can like watch things just like deflecting off of their dome, like solid points that are just basic understandings are just kind of going off their dome, or you can see that in the glaze in their eyes that they are purposely ignoring the things you're saying. It's incredibly frustrating. And if you get mad at a person in that situation, that allows them to take the high ground. Why are you getting upset about this? And then they try to take the high ground on those things. So that's one reason not to debate a flat earther, because their intellectual dishonesty and bullheadedness and proud ignorance is incredibly frustrating, and it's not a good look. Let's see. Any others here? Who's this? Angry Welshman. Watch my anti-flat video soon. Plug channel again. Uh, I'll try. Drop them in a chat that will, on a comment page, and I'll see what I can do. Has he seen and can he debunk the Marvel video with the stars with the peanut? How to try to people claim focus. No, I haven't, but it's been talked about so many times. So this one is: have I seen or can I debunk the Marvel video with the stars with the P900? I'm tired of people claiming out of focus stars is reality, and that's the thing. It's been shown many times that P900, it kind of sucks as a camera when it comes to zooming in on stellar objects, because it doesn't focus well enough. It just doesn't. And anybody who's looked through a telescope can tell the difference of what a star looks like when it's or a planet looks like when it's in focus and when it's out of focus, and that's what that is. All you have to do, and what they are not willing to do, is to get a telescope and look at those same objects. Get a telescope with a P900. I don't happen to have one, but if someone were to just get a telescope that has a camera attachment to it with a P900 or a P1000, zoom in on a star or a planet and get that look, and do that on both of them, you will see that it's the camera that is garbage. And so, no, I haven't had a chance to do that. And, I try not to make my life out of screwing with D-Marble, fun as it may be. Let's see. Yeah, I'm sure some point down the line I will end up doing some collab with Simon Dan and or Conspiracy Cats, with kind of these intellectual team ups are always fun. Making videos, analyzing sci-fi space movies and pointing out what's wrong with them. What do you think? Yeah, I think you should have fun doing that. Get to it before Neil deGrasse Tyson gets to it. He enjoys doing that. It makes him look like an old curmudgeon, but he enjoys pointing out the bad science in movies. So yeah, and yeah, do it. It'll be great. Those are always fun. There are already discussions to redefine planet. Yep. What is the most, since there's no single belief shared amongst flat earthers, what is the most ridiculous theory you've heard regarding the flat earth? I think some of the things that the Morgile put out there were the most ridiculous thing. I had never heard anyone say that that the sun or the moon could be kind of subjective objects that were decoded in our minds. That was awesome. That was amazing. I had never heard that. And that's the main reason I did that video on the Morgile, because the ideas were so out there. Yeah. But the idea that there's an infinite plane with a possibility of other planetary systems on that plane is just hilarious to me. So those things are awesome. Let's see, other flat earth concepts out there that are pretty crazy. I'm trying to think. I mean, the whole spotlight, the sun being a spotlight type of thing is pretty nuts. But I think the sun, the moon, and possibly the stars being holograms programmed into our brains, so that it just emulates a globe that just happens to, is is crazy. The whole it's all nuts. Okay, okay, it's all kind of crazy because it's something that when someone has to just make shit up in order to fit, wedge things into their view, you're going to get nuts stuff. The whole atmospheric lensing thing, the kind of magical magnification that supposedly happens. That's crazy pants. But it just is. Um, but you're talking about people who, for the most part, a lot of them are religious flat earthers. And so if you're a religious based flat earther, you believe in magic. You believe that these magical type of things can happen. It's by definition, there's a being with the ability to create any type of thing. So these things aren't outrageous to them because God can do anything. They can make a magical hologram that looks like a sun distant, that's 93 million miles away when it's actually just right here. That's what a magical being can do. Waving my hands enough. Okay. Let's see. How are we doing on these questions, guys? I see I still have a few to get to, and I see you're going through. Okay, excellent. Let's keep going. Do I have any idea about dark matter or dark energy? Do I have an idea about it, like what it might be? Well, it could be something very conventional. It could be there could be there's so many things it could be. So first off, dark matter and dark energy aren't a thing. They are dark matter and dark energy is a placeholder term for this unknown cause of additional gravity in the universe. So it's not so there is people will talk about, well, they just came up with dark matter. It's like, well, no, dark matter is a placeholder. It's basically a giant, X, X plus this. It's just a thing that we don't know what that is, and they just called it dark matter because they're talking about the material aspect of it. So it could be any number of things. It could be as something as simple as an additional cosmological constant that we weren't familiar with. The kind of the major error, supposed error that Einstein had done when he come up with this cosmological constant idea that was maybe accelerating things away from each other. And a lot of times that's considered a tremendous error of his, but it's always possible that there is a different cosmological constant that deals with gravity on a larger scale, much like those of you who are familiar with the additions, additive velocities. There's relativistic velocities, and there's the whole idea that velocity 1 plus velocity 2 is equal to velocity 1 plus velocity 2. That's how we do things. You're going 30 miles an hour. You throw a ball ahead of you at 30 miles an hour. That ball is actually it's going 60 miles an hour. But on a relativistic sense, when you get into high speeds, that doesn't happen. The ratio is different. There's a different math for how that works. It is always possible that dark matter ends up being a different gravitational experiment at galactic levels, like our standard G, M1, M2 over a radius squared may be different when you get to galactic scales, and that could be the explanation. There could be a higher concentration of neutron stars and black holes. That could be that. Those things don't reflect light so much, so we might not be seeing it for that reason. It's always possible that the universe expansion happened at a rate different than what we believe, and there's actually more matter beyond the range of the distance, the age of the universe. There's just more stuff out there, but we can't see it because it's actually more than 16 billion light years away. Things like that. So there's all sorts of possibilities. So do I have an idea? No, I could come up with all sorts of stuff, but that would just be me, coming up with things based on my own, kind of bias and imagination. Let's see. I have met Bill Nye, but just like other people who gone to book signings. They were actually Neil deGrasse Tyson was in town when I was leaving town, I was hoping to be around because I wanted to get him a shirt. And I wanted to get a picture with him so people can see that no, we're not the same people. We don't actually look that much alike. And I'm not him in makeup because people have claimed that. That's one of the most outrageous claims I've seen, that I was actually him in makeup. Come on now. Mhm, mhm. Um, let's see. Oh, another one. Weird flat Earth idea is the idea that the Earth is accelerating at at 9.81 meters per second squared. It's accelerating upwards. The flat Earth is, and that's why we get the acceleration that we do. That's just nuts, and it's not consistent with what we actually observe on Earth. Let's see. Bum, 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 bum. So I've been asking those. Boom, boom. Whoa, we just got a big jump right here. Is it the via YouTube flat earthers are Christian and sphere earthers are atheists? No, no, I don't think that's the, true assessment. Is it the via YouTube flat earthers are Christian and sphere earthers are atheists? No, there are plenty of Christian, other religious denomination people that are uh, understanders of the understanding of the actual science. Um, my parents are religious and they think flat Earth is nuts. So that started squeaking on my table here. They think flat Earth is nuts. So I think it's a small segment, but they're just very vocal. Let's see. I don't know how Nathan Oakley is using angle of attack. Yeah, I don't know the exact definition of angle of attack. Well, it's just yeah, there might be an aeronautical term for it, but when I'm talking about angle of attack, it's kind of like the angle of approach. It's the angle at which um, uh, one ray, in this case, when it comes to sunlight, engages the surface of engages the surface. So you have the angle at which uh, 90 degrees being straight on, you have surface 90 degrees being straight on, and then you get smaller angles by going this way. You don't consider this a larger angle because you're dealing with the same amount from this end, but the highest angle you can get is 90 degrees, and then you go down from there. So it's kind of like the angle of approach. So when I was talking about the way the sun deals with interacts with the surface of the earth, you have that curved surface kind of like that, and so then you have this direct 90-degree angle, and then anything else you can see this surface is slightly different. There's basically an angle there. So then when you get to here, there's a very low angle of attack, and then everything's spread across it. I don't know how Nathan Oakley is using it, but I wouldn't be surprised that he was butchering things because that's what he does. Could the entire observable universe be rotating? It could be, but it would have to be rotating relative to something. And I don't, would it matter if the entire universe is rotating? What would matter is what is it rotating relative to? And if we can't experience that, if it's like dimensionally beyond us, like it's like a fifth, sixth, what if it's another dimension, then it honestly wouldn't matter. We wouldn't notice. Once again, if you have questions, direct them at Anon or Young Blue Skeptic. They're doing a great job of filtering things to me because you guys are kind of firing through, and I'm just going down the list as they give them to me. Let's see. Dark matter. I did that one. Well, I do some videos showing actual observations of refractions over water since he lives in California with cold water. Possibly. The thing is having time to set up for that kind of thing. It's difficult. And uh, yeah, I'm kind of formulating things in my head. something I can do maybe during the summer. And the thing is, it's cold water, but it's still uh, low altitude. There's the temperature isn't the only thing that affects the refraction. Um, the fact is there will be more refraction toward the surface of water just because of atmospheric pressure. Let's not forget that there is the atmospheric gradient going on. So unless it's incredibly cold, unless something amazingly happens where it's somehow there's a lot of cold water coming through on a hot day where you can get some inversion happening, you're still going to get that your standard refraction gradient. We don't get many mirage type things. I haven't seen any type of superior mirages or anything like that around here. Let's see. So could the entire yes did that. I don't understand why a flat earther would say a sextant wouldn't work on a globe. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, because we're dealing with big distances, um, and the fact that there's so very little parallax is why those things work. Hmm. What do I think of a U.S. Space Force? Well, there's two different lines of thought. I am completely in support of increasing the amount of space exploration, um, having more, uh, having that type of intellectual goal in our education system, having people knowing that there's going to be a space program out there so that they can strive for their education to contribute to things like that. I think is great. The idea of militarizing space, I think, is madness. It's one of those things that sounds awesome, and it's just going to get a whole lot of people killed. Um, if you want to talk about coming up with a sensible defense system, that's one thing. But this idea of just like, we're going to make a space force because that's where the next war is going to be. It's like, well, only if you make, you're almost, it's almost a self fulfilling prophecy. If you're going to have this space force in order to deal with the next war, you might be actually, setting the situation up for that next war. So I'm not for militarizing space. Uh, it's inevitable. There will be a certain amount of it. That's if you put people up into space, you need to be able to defend those people who are in space. But the idea of using space as a military launching point uh, is troublesome. But further exploration, fine. Let's see. Okay, Sexton Space Force. Uh, uh, see, you ever take the moon landing conspiracy seriously? I sort of did once, but looked into it was good. Well, when I was young, when I was very young, I can't exactly remember when. I remember seeing something in the '80s about the one of the first things before they even talked about it in school. That's how early on in my life it was. I saw like a documentary or something that was talking about the moon landing being fake. And so my first education about the moon landing, really, because it was before they talked about it in school, was of the possibility of it being fake. I didn't necessarily believe it, but it was part of like my baseline education of it. Um, and then I kind of forgot about it until I got older, and I remember, oh yeah, I remember seeing that. Um, but in terms of taking it seriously, um, I always thought it was, at least in my early days, I always thought it was a possibility that it could be fake because I'm sorry, comes down to it. Uh, I'm a black man living in America. I understand completely the possibility of there being conspiracies against the American people. Um, so the idea of there being a conspiracy wasn't outrageous to me early on. But once I started my education and became kind of proficient in the sciences, when science started really clicking with me, and I started to notice I had a proficiency for understanding it. And then when I started to actually learn about the moon landing, that was like before I learned about it. And once I started to learn about it, I could see the physics. I can understand the engineering happening, and I was like, yeah, sorry, that's not fake. I had a criteria in my head of what should happen, what should not happen, and so then I've never taken a conspiracy after that seriously. I don't think that there cannot be conspiracies around the moon landing. It's always possible that steps were taken to, say, falsify data, or steps were taken to, like, take photos of, like, it's like, hey, look at them, they just got out of the pod in the water or something like that. Just to show success so they could get things out to the press quickly, things like that. There's always a possibility of things like that. But when it comes to the landing themselves, I just don't have faith enough in people to say that they were that good. Um, I think you really have to give them a lot of credit to be able to fake something on that scale. Uh, I personally think it would be much easier to go to the freaking moon than to come up with a conspiracy to fake going to the moon with data, information, photos, video that would hold up under 50 years of scrutiny. Thank you very much for the super chat. Uh, I think it's just easier. Uh, Even right now, people think that there's holograms being done on the ISS, that there's augmented reality stuff going on. Uh, you know, green screen, instantaneous stuff, wire work, all these things that are much more difficult to pull off than actually going into space. To get the ISS, as much as we talk about, how technologically savvy all these things are, to get something into space, you need to a container into space. You need to make it, tight enough to have an atmosphere in it and be able to control it, and you need to physically push it into space. You just need to muscle that thing. It's just an engineering task. To make a conspiracy, uh, to to make the technology to fake zero G, to to on the fly have people working in augmented reality and having it live streamed to other people and have it render in real time so that they can see it, to have that instant reaction going on without the kind of lag time. I mean, you play Fortnite, you get the lag time all the time, and that stuff is pretty good technology. To have all of that and have it pull off, come together, is much more difficult. And moon landing deniers, flat earthers, all these conspiracy people, they have much more trust in the technology of human beings than I do. They think I don't think we're that good. I think it's much easier to just to muscle something up into space and keep it in orbit and sustain that system than it is to do all the things that they think are going on. All right, a lot of questions went by as I was ranting there, but let's see. I believe. Have I ever convinced a flat earther yet that the Earth is basically actually a sphere? I believe one or two people have told me that they've changed their mind. Ha, 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 ha. Have I ever lost my cool with the flat earther? Uh, yeah, I have. I generally give myself time to not go off on them. Uh, Probably the closest I've ever gotten to truly losing my cool was probably some of the stuff I did with D Marble. Um, but I I'm so frustrated with his ignorance and his arrogance and his whatever machismo crap he was going on that I decided to poke the bear on that one. Now, and honestly, not necessarily my most shining moment, uh, that I poked him so much just to make him mad. It was, almost a bullying tactic to mess with him the way I did. Yeah. I'm not perfect. That was kind of cruel of me. Yeah. So I'm sure, it's not, like I said, not my shining moment. That's close as I got to actually, losing it. Let's see. Can you do a shadow test to show the linear relation of the sun's travel? Yes, I can. I have a less than perfect one. That's probably going to go up later today. It's based on the globe setup that Wolfie 6020 came up with for during the equinox. I did one of those. So I'm going to be putting that up later today. It's not perfect because I wasn't able to get mine, my little pointers, markers absolutely straight, so the shadows aren't perfect, but it shows it. Regarding the entire universe rotating, would there be any centrifugal effect? I don't know. All depends on the forces involved, and when you're dealing with something that wide, the centrifugal force would be really small, just like the centripetal force of the Earth's spin is smaller than the gravitational attraction of the Earth, like I don't know, 0.3% or something like that. The centrifugal force of a rotating galaxy, rotating universe would be, exponentially smaller. So let's see. Someone would have gone up and seen a close sun or got, yeah. If the sun was close, if the sun was low enough to be beneath the clouds, and we know clouds, go up to about 50,000 feet or so. If the sun was low enough to be beneath the clouds, if the sun was low enough, we would be able to fly over it. Simple as that. We've flown. You've got balloons going up, 120,000 feet, which according to some people is higher than the sun. If the sun is below the clouds, it should be able to do it. Then you have the situation, people who say the sun was below the clouds, but at the same time they say that it's, 3,000 miles up. I don't know how it can be below the clouds yet still be 3,000 miles up. How high are those clouds? How high do you think that plane went? I know. Yeah. What's the blame? School system, lack of personal research regarding flat earthers. It's a collection of things. I believe. I don't think it's the school system so much, because the way school systems work is they don't teach you everything. They can't. You cannot be taught everything. So when you're in kindergarten, you learn about the solar system with this little tiny model, and everything's like in perfect circles and everything like that. That's what they show you. If you stopped your education right there, which some people have due to poverty or whatever, in the past, then when you find out what people say is going on with the universe, you say, that's not what I was taught. You go into elementary school, they show you a little bit more. Maybe you get up to, to 8th grade or so, and they actually start to show you that things are in ellipses and things like that. But they don't really get into the force equations and things. They just they just say, the tides are caused by gravity. They just, the Earth rotates this way. Basic stuff. If you stop your education there, when you get older and you don't add to it, then when you hear about what's going on with science and universe, you go, that's not what I was taught. You get the high school education, they take it up another level. But now you're in high school, you start to have electives, at least in American education. You have electives. If you don't elect to take a physics class, then you won't learn how gravity works. You won't learn how, pressure gradients work. You won't learn all these different things. You're stuck at your 8th grade level of solar system globe education. But if you do elect to get more, you'll learn a little bit more, but not all of it, because it's high school level education. And if you stop there, then later on, you're going to say, that's not what we're taught in school, because you didn't go any further. If you then go into to no one who's gone through college level physics, college level cosmology, any universal level of science courses will say that, oh, okay, that the Earth is flat, because they will have gotten more education. But it's those who have limited their education, and then they see what is being said, They say that's not what we were taught. That's wrong. This is what we're taught, and that makes no sense. This is what we're taught, and that makes no sense. Well, you had a limited education. It's not the educational system's fault. You didn't increase your education, but you had a limited education, and so I think that's a lot of the problem with flat earthers is they did not increase their level of education after whatever point they stopped, eighth grade, ninth grade, 10th grade. And so when they look at what's being said about the world and the universe, it doesn't go with the model they have in their head. So I think that's part of the problem. If there's anything particular I'd like to ask Neil deGrasse Tyson if I were to meet him. No, uh, not a specific thing, uh, but probably just shoot the shit about the importance of popularizing science and things like that. Just general conversation, but nothing in particular. Not off the top of my head. I might come up with something. Na, 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 na. Do I think flat Earth believers are just conspiracy? This is from Andrew Morgan. Thank you, Andrew, and thanks Anon and Young Blue Skeptic for filtering these things for me. Let's see here, real quick. Boom. Boom. Let me go back to this. Hold on, let me get back to my conversation. Sorry, I lost track of my conversation. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, where's my latest question? Rogue Knight asked, D Marble's assumption is that there's a section of bulging water between 2 points across the bay is laughable. Would GS make a video demonstrating how ignorant D Marble is when it comes to maths or geometry? I think this pretty much all my videos on D Marble have been showing how ignorant he is on these things. The problem is the idea of a bulge gets kind of reinforced by everyone who talks about a bulge. So I never talk about a bulge. I never talk about there being a bulge of water because I think it puts a picture in people's heads that's not it's not accurate. So yeah, I try to avoid that line of conversation. Let's see, what's to blame? Oh, so anyway, Andrew Morgan was asking, sorry, a question for GS. Do I think that flat Earth believers are just conspiracy theorists in general? If not a flat Earth, would it be something else? Yes. Well, I've yet to see a flat earther that didn't have a whole bunch of other conspiracies going on. It's like you have a flat Earth is like because the idea is if you believe that there is a conspiracy to hide the shape of the Earth, to lie about the shape of the Earth, it's almost a logical conclusion that there are other conspiracies out there to support that main conspiracy. So if you think that there's a structure that does this type of conspiratorial acts, obviously they're doing other things. So I've never seen a flat earther that said that chemtrails are fake. There's no such thing as chemtrails. It's just because they tend to just go with them, not them all, but if generally flat earthers think there's some type of Masonic conspiracy going on. The Masons have a long history, so there's all sorts of possible conspiracy that go along with that. So anything, they'll come up with almost anything to support this larger conspiracy. So yes, they're generally conspiratorial thinkers. That's their general worldview. In a way, they're kind of professional. It's a weird thing with flat earthers. They're both victims and heroes in their own story. They see themselves as like, the rebel. They're the rebels against the man, um, and they are the resistance to this kind of constant victimization that's been happening to them and their fellow man for all these years. So there's a tremendous amount of victimhood amongst flat earthers, uh, and but there's also a kind of a like a white knight complex that they are part of the resistance. They're the heroes in this story, and some of them have even spoken to. Apologize for the screaming children out there. Some of them even spoken to this, how when they were younger, they were kind of the outcast and they didn't have a group, and they kind of see this as a way of giving themselves a positive reinforcement to their existence. And so they're conspiracy people. They're kind of general victims, and they're uh, they're they're heroes in their own adventure story. Mhm. Do I think that creationists with their anti-scientific propaganda are more of a threat to science than flat earthers? To a certain degree, yes. And the main reason is uh, because uh, creationists, anti-science creationists, wrap themselves in their religion as much as possible for protection. And religious, at least in this country, religious points of view are protected speech. And so, with that cloak of religion around them, they are trying to actively get themselves injected into the school system. They are trying to get themselves put on the same footing as actual science. And if you get yourself, as flat earthers will talk about it all the time. Indoctrination. There's all this indoctrination going on in science in our science classes. That's what creationists want. They want to be able to indoctrinate people in the school system. They, you don't hear them talking about allowing all ideas of types of creation to be put into science classes. They want their specific type of creation to be put into science classes because and if they do get that foothold, uh, then I think there's a problem. So I think that's more troublesome. On the other hand, most people don't get a lot of young people don't get their education and their information from the schools as much. They get it from the internet, and uh, creationists aren't as savvy on the internet as flat earthers are. They're just not, at least not what I've seen. And so it's a front in the battle of knowledge that I think flat earthers are better at. Um, but even they seem to be losing their drive. So I think they're not going to be as long winded. They're not going to be as enduring as creationists are. So in general, I think creationists are more of a threat. Uh, but uh, but yeah. So there we go. uh, sorry, going through these here. Conspiracy theorists. Can flat Earth model explain how sun can illuminate the other side of clouds? Ask a flat earther. I don't see any. I've never seen any flat Earth. I've never seen a legitimate flat Earth model. Most flat earthers will say something like, "Why do we need to have a model?" So, yeah. Let's see. What made me choose the flat earth topic to talk about so much? Did something in the movement intrigue me? Good question. Um, I am interested in it, in pointing out um, the errors in thinking. And the flat earth movement right now is just a treasure trove of confirmation bias, uh, just bad critical thinking. And I first started out making these videos because a friend of mine was a moon landing denier. And so I made videos that were mostly directed at him, and he had a podcast, and to his listeners, just as a kind of a contrast to that. And even he's like, yeah, okay, I'm kind of over that moon landing denial thing because of my videos. Uh, at least he stopped arguing it because, he basically stopped arguing it because he didn't want to continue to be wrong. Whether or not he still believes it is one thing, but he decided to stop discussing it with me because he knew every idea that he had was wrong. Uh, and so as the moon landing movement kind of petered out, and moon landing denial movement, it's kind of petered out a little bit. Um, I had already started transitioning. I hadn't planned on doing a lot of flat Earth videos because it didn't seem like there. I just wanted to just kind of look at this basic argument and and kind of get it out of the way. But once once you dip your feet into those waters, um, all the bad arguments just start flooding at you. They just started flooding at me. Once I did that first Eratosthenes video, all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, there's a lot of bad thinking that goes along with this topic. So that's when it became more intriguing to me to see these arguments and go after them was intriguing. Uh, also I really enjoy the intellectual exercise. There's nothing that helps you understand your own position more than to try to explain it to somebody else, to try to teach it to someone else. So as a way of addressing my own thoughts on the subject, um, I I went after these other questions. Because it's like, do I understand this well enough to explain it to somebody? If I don't, should I be looking more into it? And so, as a kind of an intellectual exercise, and as an exercise in intellectual honesty, I started, going into it. And they were just kind of, it's a fun topic, talking about kind of everyday physics is a fun topic for me. So that's why I did more of it. Mm-hmm. Oh, what is this here? Mm-hmm. That's not a question. That's a statement. Yes. I addressed that D Marble one. I addressed that one. I addressed that one. Yes, D Marble, Rogue Knight owes you $500. Yeah, I think he owes me 1,000, but he'll never do it because we'll just say that he'll come up with some excuse. But that would that would be because he claimed that he never said that refraction doesn't happen, and or dispersion doesn't happen, and he'll give $500 to anyone who could show that he did say that. And of course, I showed that, but he ignored it. Bum, 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 bum. Yes, I saw that. The funny thing about the video by Wolfie with the wet globe is that I had already started making remember just a couple videos back, I had like clay on my hands or whatever. I had already started kind of modeling my little clay ball to do that video. And I actually had done one, but I just didn't like the position of it wasn't great on camera, so I did another one. And then I saw that, and I was just thinking, oh, that's funny that he's doing a wet ball thing. I wonder if he's going to go to the next level and do it with ferrofluid. And he didn't, so which is good because I'm glad, because I didn't want to look like I was copying his work. But I thought it was funny that he did that water clinging to the shape of a ball. It's the base. It's problem with the whole water doesn't cling to the shape of a ball kind of thing is that it's a weak argument. It's overly simplistic to say water doesn't curve. It's everyone knows water does, and so if your basic argument is water doesn't curve, you're ignoring reality. Everyone knows that water curves. So you have to come up with a more sophisticated way of talking about it, or you just sound like an idiot. Anyone who says to me water doesn't curve sounds like an idiot to me because they're just thinking too simplistically. Um, you know, water curves. Okay, so don't act like it doesn't curve. You need to drill down more and explain what you're talking about. And so the whole idea of water clinging to the surface of something, you have to understand that there's not uh, when something is wet. If you have an object that's wet, that's water conforming to the shape of the outside of that thing. You can have a wet ball, and water is conforming to the outside of it until it dries out. Yeah, it won't all automatically just drip down to the bottom. So the concept of water doesn't cling to the shape of an object is also overly simplistic. Anyone who says that tells me that they're not thinking well enough. Let's see. Yes, it's funny when flat earthers state facts sarcastically as if they're obviously false. Yes. Yes, gravity is so strong. Yeah, gravity is making people, things fall. Yeah. Uh, void reality. Is void reality still there? Void Reality says, I'm watching you because I like to hear your views. I have to say, as a flat earther, I don't like the way you're talking about flat earthers like you know what they think. The I don't know what flat earthers think, but I know what they say. And if flat earthers aren't saying what they think, then that's their problem. But since they are telling me um, these things, I have to assume that they think them. Okay. So uh, when a flat earther says that the sun and moon are uh, generated, subjective generated images that appear in our mind, I have to assume that that's what they think. And so then I'm going to talk about that. So I apologize if I'm saying something that flat earth. I have not made up a single thing about a flat earther. Everything when I say flat earthers say this or flat earthers think that, it's because someone has actually said that to me. Um, so if there's something in particular that I've said that flat earthers think that you don't agree with, that you think that as a flat earther you don't think that, please direct it to Young Blue Skeptics. You've already directed them. Point out something that you say that I say flat earthers think that you don't think. It's not like a challenge. I'm actually curious. What have I said that flat earthers think that you don't think as a flat earther? So if you can direct that to Young Blue Skeptic, that'd be great. uh, how try this word? One of your again. I've I talk when I talk about a flat earther's childhood, it's because a flat earther has mentioned that. So thank you for that. Bum bum bum. Joined. Ah, uh, uh, Anon mentions that the chat has been going really well today. In the past, we've had chats where people have had to be blocked, they've had to be banned, they've had to be kind of shut down and censored because of their activity, but that's not happening today. And so I think that's great. It makes the conversation go well. So shout out to everyone who's in the chats today for keeping things on a higher plane, and see if we can keep that going. Thank you very much, and thanks for pointing that out. And it needs to be commended. Okay, Graham took off a few minutes ago. Hey. Helen DeGeneres. Sorry, Sapien, you are a religious disciple. Tell me more. Tell me more of how I'm a religious disciple. Just saying it doesn't make it so. Let's say knowing the Earth to be an oblate spheroid with a changing diameter, equator versus poles, what creates our equal atmospheric pressure since there is a sea level rise at the equator? Well, the thing is, there's not a perfectly equal atmospheric pressure everywhere in the world, and there is a difference. So when you go to different areas, you notice. So now you say changing uh, changing diameter equator versus poles, what creates our equal atmospheric pressure. Like I said, we don't have one. That's what when we talk about atmospheric pressure, it's an average. It's an average atmospheric pressure, that we call sea level, because there is a change. And so we have we kind of smooth it all out for the purpose of estimates, but there is a difference between different locations, depending on where they are. Uh, Argument from ignorance. Did you catch this? Poo poo pie poo from Sean. No, I have no idea what that's referencing to. Uh, Spherical Earthy. Hey there. Hope you and your family. Hey, what's up? Spherical Earthy. Do I think that past conspiracies, like the Tuskegee experiments and so on, make Black Americans more susceptible to conspiracy theorist thinking? Not so much conspiracy theorist thinking, um, but uh, as people who recognize, well, I mean, and not everyone's been recognizes the history of Black people in America. Um, there's there's a an honest, at least most of the time, there's an honest understanding that certain things are possible. Taking it to a global level is a different thing. But yeah, on a small scale, I think there's a historical confirmation of conspiracies, that not makes them more prone to conspiracy thinking, but uh, maybe more prone to understanding of the possibility. Uh, but that doesn't, the thinking part is different. But when someone says, "Oh, there's conspiracy behind this," at least as a an African American, I don't automatically think no conspiracies aren't possible. I don't think that, because I know they are. But then I look into the uh, the background of it and the level of it, and that's a different thing altogether. So yeah, and one, I hesitate to speak for Black people in America in general. It's because we're too diverse for that. But I can't say I think that we're more prone to conspiracy thinking. Uh, but I think we do recognize the reality of past conspiracies, at least on a small scale. Why don't flat earthers make a small working model of the flat earth? If flat earthers think the large globe can be scaled down, why don't they do that with the flat earth? Well, if if they could, they would. But once you put a model together, you have to be able to defend that model, and that's something they can't do. So putting a model together does not help them in any way, and so since it doesn't help them, they won't do it. Uh, they can talk, as long as things are kind of up in the air, they can defend it. But once they draw the line somewhere, once they say that the sun is 3,000 miles up or whatever, once you say that's how high the sun is, then you have to defend the appearance of the moon, the appearance of shadows on the earth. You have to defend all that. But as long as you just say it's nearby, there's all sorts of things you can do with it. So putting a solid model together is not in their best interest. That's why. And on top of that, they can't do it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Helen DeGeneres, you have never seen the globe for yourself. Only 500 people have supposedly been to space. That leaves 7 billion people who have the testimony of 500 people that it's round. Okay. And That's not an argument that it's flat because you've never seen the flat Earth for yourself. You've never seen it. You've never seen the whole flat Earth for yourself. No one has. No one has. I have 500 people. You have no one. What are we going to do with that? But we also have uh, the satellites. We have the data. We have the information. We have the experiences of those 7 billion people that collectively all point toward a globe, Earth. They all do. When we all, if it would be possible for, everybody has a phone, everybody with a cell phone, let's do this. Everyone who has a cell phone, look up in the sky and chime in to where the sun is right now, or chime into where the moon is right now, depending on where they are. If you're able to take all that data together, they would all be pointing at something super far away. And if you tried to put that all on a flat plane, it wouldn't work. It would not work. You'd have to have some type of magical thing that is just telling them all something. But if you put it if you put them into a globe model, everything would make sense. That's what we know. That's what we have. Either logic and reason work or they don't. And if you believe that we have logic and we have reason and we have information and data and we can make use of it and we can make inferences from it, if you believe that is possible, if you believe that we can collect data and make inferences from it that reflect reality, if you believe that's possible, then the globe, the model of the globe, the Earth being a globe, is the natural, logical, reasonable conclusion to all the information you've gotten. If you don't think that's possible, then we need to not have a conversation, because scientific experimentation means nothing. If you cannot infer things from data, then scientific experimentation means nothing. But if you believe that we can infer things from the data we get, and that will give us a model of a reality, then the Earth being a globe is valid, because that's where that data takes us. That's where the natural inferences, the logic, the reason of the data that comes in takes us. That's just the way it goes. Helen DeGeneres says 7 billion people have never witnessed or felt the spin of the Earth, yet they all believe it and defend it so vehemently. That's religion 100%. No, I just explained to you how it's not religion 100%, because logic and reason and making inferences from data work. If someone just said, if someone just came up with the idea, Earth is a globe, and people just said, yeah, okay, and that's all it was, then you'd have something. But that's not how the globe model came about. What happened was people were looking at they had a flat Earth model. They saw the Earth and they go, yeah, we think it's flat, because that's what they thought they saw. But they also at the same time were taking in data and information. And as they were taking in data information, they tried to put it together in a model, because that's what you do when you take in data information. You try to put it together in a model, not necessarily a physical model, but in a minimum intellectual model. And what they found is that it didn't fit the models they came up with. So they had to keep changing the models and changing the models and changing the model until their model fit the data. That's the whole thing. The model has to fit the data. And so then they came into like, oh, this works on a globe. That's how it works. So that's where the globe comes from, is taking the data and figuring out what does that data draw for, what shape can be drawn from that data. Oh, it's a globe. And now some people, when they're young, when they're kids, and they're like, "Hey," and you say, "Oh, the Earth is a globe," they go, "Okay." But as they get older, if the only reason they believe the Earth is a globe is because someone told them, I believe it. Okay, you could say there's a certain amount of religious view in that. But for people like me and many people who have looked into things and understand how the data what the data is and how it reflects is reflected in reality, it's not just saying, oh, it's a globe, taking it on faith. I understand that that's a conclusion I came up with from the data, understanding how that works. So it's not just being told. So you're wrong. On the other hand, flat earthers have to ignore data in order to continue to have their flat earth view. When you say the earth is flat, you have no data to back that up. You say, well, I have this and I have this. And you say, okay, you're right. If you have that and that kind of makes the earth look flat. But we also have this data. This is data that exists out there. And no, that's not real. Well, but why are you saying that's not real? Because the reason you're saying it's not real is because it doesn't fit. So instead of changing what your model is to fit the data, you're discarding data to keep your model. That's the religious point of view, not mine. Let's see. Let's see. Jeffrey Bozer, aren't flurfers in a bit of a bind when it comes to math? On one hand, they try to use it to show sun, moon are close. On the other hand, it never works conclusively for them. Yes, yes, they are in a bind. They're also in a bind because they both want to do two things at the same time. They want to use science as their support base while disregarding science. You know, it's 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 amazing that they say science proves this, and then you say read more. You look, this is what science says. Okay, well they don't know what they're talking about. So they're flat earthers, and just like creationists, what's the relationship with science is like a teenage boy and the hottest, most popular girl at school. They don't like her because she's arrogant, and she happens to be also the valedictorian. She's smart and she's popular and she's pretty, but yeah, that's she's just too full of herself, and they don't like her. They don't want to have anything to do with her. But if somehow, when walking down the hallway, that girl says, "Hey," to them, it makes their day. They were recognized by her. They were validated by her. But then the second something happens with her that doesn't go the way they want, they're like, we don't like her. But they strive for that person's confirmation, that person's attention, while at the same time trying to disregard them. That's the flat earther and science. It's hilarious and kind of pathetic. Okay, I'm going to go for about another 20 minutes. I started this late, so I'm going to try to sum this up after about 2 hours, mainly because I have a full-time job that's kind of poking at me to get some tutorials done for them, because going to court tomorrow. Let's see. Easy way to show the curvature. Is there an easy way to show curvature? Well, the whole concept of objects falling below the horizon is curvature on the axis that you're looking at. What the problem is that flat earthers don't recognize it. But if you think of it this way, if you if you get two people and or two, one person and a ship, two observers, and one goes out on a ship and you get it to the point where it falls below the horizon far enough that no P900 P1000 camera can ever zoom back in on it. But if you see that drop, you're looking at a curve along that axis. Now, you don't have a field of view wide enough and you're too close to the surface of the earth to get a curve along the other axes. But what you can do is you can get another two sets of people out on those ends. So you have say observer one, observer two, say 5, 6, 10 miles out that way. And then you have observer three, which is, 5 miles at 45 degrees from you there. And then observer four, which is 5 miles from you there. And they are directly across from each other. So these two observers will see each other drop below the curve. These see each other drop below the curve, even though they won't see a curve along their x-axis. They will see it along their z-axis, let's call it. And so what you have is this bent entire surface is bent. Whether or not you see it along your axis, the bend is along that axis because these observers will tell you so. And so what you have is a curve along all the axes going this way, as opposed to just you curving this way or them curving this way. The whole thing goes down. So you could have 4 observers and you could show curvature along each other's axes that way. When do I think we'll get back to the moon? Who will be first, NASA or space? With people, I think NASA will probably end up going to the moon first with people. I don't know if SpaceX is thinking about. Yeah, I don't keep track of what their actual agenda is. I think they're looking further than that. But and who knows? Maybe someone else will come sprinting out of the box somewhere else. The moon is not. I think the moon is not that important when it comes to space feats. It's important in terms of maybe establishing a launch for deeper space. I think that would be smart. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious myself, but it's going to happen again in as long as I take care of myself. It'll happen again in my lifetime. Yeah, I'm only 50, probably in the next 10 years. Let's see. How can you use gravitational redshift to disprove flat Earth? I think that's a concept that's too far beyond flat earthers. And you're talking about people who don't believe these other bodies exist. So to talk about gravitational redshift on these other bodies that they will just deny the existence of is I think a flawed attempt. It won't go anywhere. I understand what you're saying, but I just don't think it will go anywhere. Yes, Canadian sniper set a world record targeting the enemy by using the curvature of the Earth. If the Earth was flat, he would have missed. Oh yeah, and just ballistics, they have to use curvature of the Earth all the time. Let's see. So I encourage me to do a video setting up a debate with Eddie Bravo. If there's a flat earther with a platform that people listen to, it's him. Plus, I'd love to see GS on GRE. That would be that would be great. Actually, I think one of his franchise jujitsu places are nearby. I've sparred with a guy who teaches there. I think it's somewhere up here in the Bay Area. So if I find out that he's ever coming up this way, I don't know, just to stop by one of his franchise places, I would totally invite him to come talk to me, even spar with me, because hey, I like sparring with anybody. He'd probably trash me in jujitsu, but my stand up is pretty good. He would kill me in jujitsu. I'm not even beginning to think otherwise. he would just destroy me that way, because that's his form. But yeah, I would I would invite that that conversation. I live in Oakland, California. Uh, Parker. That's where I live. Okay, that's the meat of those guys there. Let's see what else is going on. Is there anything I wanted to talk about? Otherwise, let's see. What's this here? Let's see. Which one? Missing link. You guys are talking about BoJack Horseman. I'm way behind on BoJack Horseman. There's 5 seasons already. Can I give you an eclipse prediction without using the Sarah cycle? No, because I don't give eclipse predictions, but I can tell you that the Sarah cycle cannot tell you exactly where on the planet Earth that that the eclipse will happen. It won't tell you the width of the shadow, and it won't tell you where the most optimal places to look at it are. It's just a cycle. It's you don't the Sarah cycle isn't special in that if the Earth was, people consider the Earth flat back when it was made. All that is a record of the pattern of movement. That's not special. That's not tied to the shape of the Earth. It's just a recognition of this is when things happen. This is when it happened the next time. This is when it happened the next time. Oh, there's a pattern. Let's write this pattern down. That's the only thing that's special about the Saros cycle. It's not tied to the geometry of the Earth itself, which is why it won't tell you where on the planet uh, the cycle the eclipse will be. Just that there will be one. And the problem is sometimes those eclipses just barely touch the Earth. Just like no one saw it. It crossed over Antarctica. No one saw it. Yeah, but yeah. So Sarah cycle isn't that special. It's a tool. Do I like Tower Power? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You've done the Illustrator model of showing curves flattening out with larger diameters. Do you think using something like stake, string stick, cord long tape measure, and a long straight edge would show the real world flattening better? Uh, Possibly. I had to think about that. It is easier to believe than knowing. That's why flat earthers always deflect facts and evidence. It is kind of easy to believe. Thing is, it's not for some people. It's easy to believe, um, which is funny because sometimes people will say, "Why don't you just believe this?" And and the thing is, it's like I can't turn on and turn off what I believe. The idea that people could just believe it is foreign to me. I don't choose, as far as I know, I try my best not to choose to believe things. Things are presented to me, and I either believe them or I don't. They fit within the framework of standards that I've put together or that have formed in me over the years. And if they meet it, I believe it. If they don't, I don't. Um, I can intellectually say, that's possible. But I can't intellectually say, I've seen everything and I've decided I'm going to believe that, when it comes to like, facts like that. Now you can decide, like, and two people come to you and they say, this is what happened and this is what happened. I didn't do that, Dad. And you go, I'm going to choose to trust you now and believe you. That's one thing. But to actually believe, that's more of like a neuronic process that I don't really have a choice over. But so sometimes it's some people, it's easy for them to believe because they're it fits their confirmation bias, and so they believe it. Oh yeah, that makes sense. It fits for me. Click, I believe it. Yeah. But if it doesn't, no, no. If it doesn't fit, then it doesn't matter. They hold resistance. The Flat Earth Convention is next month. I think it's next week in Denver. Have I considered going? Yes, I had considered going, but I've been doing so much travel lately. It's kind of I decided not to. Plus, I have a violence dynamics seminar that I'm going to be going to next week, and that's just like 2 days of you know intellectual and uh, kind of voluntary violence with other trainers, violence professionals, security guards, just learning technique and teaching techniques and things like that. I'm going to be doing that next weekend, which is so much more fun uh, than uh, than flat earthers. But I was generally hadn't been traveling so much this last month. I would have gone. I wanted to just like park myself outside that place and just play my theme song the whole time. So they walk by like, yeah. I'm sure some good footage will come out of it though. Yes. Explain the difference between full moon and lunar eclipse. Yeah. Maybe I'll try this one before I go. Maybe this will be the last one. uh, so so let's see. Full moon and a lunar eclipse, and this is kind of goes coincides with the video I made for Godless Engineer. Let's see if I can pull some of this stuff up, actually. Let me, yeah. So let's see. Let me pull up a couple things that I made for that Godless Engineer video. Bum, bum, bum. Where are my slides? Okay, here are my slides. Let's see. I have to draw it. I'll have to draw it for you guys. And this will be my last question. And this was who? I can't remember who it was that asked this in the let's see. Dun, 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 ba, ba, ba. It was I don't know. Sorry, I'm not going to butcher your name. I am not going to butcher your name. But when I get into this, I will show the gentleman's name. Let me set up my illustrator here real quick. And then I will share my screen once this is up and going. Sorry, I'm going to get some tools together here while I'm waiting for Illustrator to finish launching. Let's see. Slide. And then I already have this one. Okay. Come on. Good. And then I'll open up slide one. Oh, cool. It's already open. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to modify something that I had already done in my. So if you haven't seen the video I made for Godless Engineer, let me share my screen here. Let me move that over. Yes, yeah, I see that, and I just didn't want to butcher the name, saying it. Last name of Laszlo. Let's see here. So I'm gonna share my screen share, and then I'm gonna go and let me just get rid of this regressive thing. Okay. All right. So you're seeing this here. Okay. The gentleman that had made that comment. What made this request was this one right here. Kolhami Laszlo. What's the sun, earth, moon position during a full moon and during a full lunar eclipse? So, and after thinking, drawing, I always got disappointed the answer was the same. And this was the issue with D Marble's video where he claimed that the shot of the Earth with the moon in the foreground was a solar eclipse. He claimed that was a solar eclipse because of the same reason. The idea that them being lined up is the same. So this is the information I used for that video. Let me just do this later, maybe tomorrow. So this is the information I put together for that. And the first thing I mentioned was that sometimes it's difficult for people to think in 3 dimensions, where you have now this here is a solar eclipse lineup, or this is the Earth, this is the moon, and this is the sun. So we have the sun. People think that these things are in perfect alignment. These 3 objects are in perfect alignment. This is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, but there's a z-axis coming straight toward us here. That's what this little center point is. This is the z-axis. And people see this and they think these things are in perfect alignment. And without recognizing that if they reorient themselves, they could be completely out of alignment this way. So looking down from the Z area this way, which is looking down, which is this point of view, everything looks in alignment. But in this point of view, you can see that they're not in alignment. And so let's do a quick alteration just for the purposes of this. We're going to put the, let's see, we're going to put we're talking about total lunar eclipse. Okay, so we're going to move this guy over here like that. So this is the Earth shadow falling on the moon from the sun. And so from a different point of view, let's move this guy over here. So they can appear to be in the exact same spot, in the exact line of each other in order to have, this would be you think, oh, this is a lunar eclipse. The moon is right in the shadow of the sun. But if it's not direct, which is say right here, it's not a full lunar eclipse. It's just a full moon. This side is being lit up by the sun. Now, given the scale here, if you you see this, you see let's see if I can do this real quick here. I'm going to turn some things on and off real quick. Let me just grab a tool. Okay. If you look at this area over here, and you say, well, if this is how things are set up, yeah, I will do another opening. I'm going to try to do kind of shorter ones more often. So yes, but I'll try to give at least 24 hours notice before doing them. So if this is the setup, people will say, well, oops, hold on. And the light is coming from the sun. Oops, I keep grabbing the wrong thing. There we go. Light's coming from the sun, going this way and hitting the moon. You know, it's going to be at an angle, and so it wouldn't be an absolute full moon. There should be some crescentiness happening going on, and that's much like with D Marble's issue is a question of scale. Let's go back to here, where a lot of people think of things being set up this way, being really close, like if being like this. So here's the sun, here's the Earth, and there's the moon. And obviously, if the moon's over there, it's definitely going to be in the Earth's shadow. But the fact is, the scale is way further apart. Let's move these guys around. Let's move this guy to here. And send it. Is this locked? Yeah, it is. This guy here, we're gonna move that little dot over so we can grab it. This guy's way out over here. So it's hard to see, but these guys are not in perfect line. The sun is way out over that way. This doesn't matter anymore. This is from the previous thing. But they're not in perfect alignment anymore. So that they're far enough apart that you can that when the Earth's shadow goes across, it can miss. And actually, since the moon doesn't orbit straight around the Earth's equator, there's a certain amount of angle that it's always on, so that when the sun comes, it can hit the moon in such a way that bum, 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 bum. Oh, let's see. It can hit the moon in such a way that let's see here. Slice the puppy in half and invert it. You can hit it in such a way that you kind of get this nice little full moon, but it's out of alignment so that the Earth's shadow misses the moon altogether. Moon is up here. Moon is there. Hold on, let me do this again. Earth's shadow comes through. Moon is here. Earth's shadow passes right by it. This is a new moon. So it's not just that they're aligned with each other on a particular axes. They have to be aligned with each other on all axes, such that it falls together. And that's the difference between both, in this case, an eclipse, a full lunar eclipse, and just a regular full moon. And when you move the moon over this way, that's the difference between a new moon and sorry, got my eclipses mixed up. New moon and a solar eclipse, full moon and a lunar eclipse, and that's the difference. So it's both thinking three-dimensionally and at a large scale that it starts to come together. Hopefully, that will have clarified things. That's pretty much what I showed in the demarble video I did. Let me stop my screen share. There we go. There, so now I can do that. That's pretty much what I showed in my demarble video that I did for a Godless Engineer, and just showing that he wasn't thinking three-dimensionally. Okay, so let's see if I can leave the YouTube chat open. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. Sometimes it just goes off. What happens if that's the best way to keep that thing open? I would like to keep it open for you guys, but I don't do this well enough, and so I can stop broadcasting, but I want to leave the chat open. What is the best way to do that? If anybody has some pointers on that, let me know, because I actually do have to get going and get to work. Hold on here. There, where is the YouTube chat room? Let me go to YouTube and see if I can leave this guy open. But last time I think it disappeared the second I signed out, and that was my fault, folks. Didn't mean to do that. Let's see, anybody before I go? Any last questions? Yeah, here we go. Here's the window. Excellent. See if I can leave this open. By the way, thank you to everybody who was in the room today. Looks like it went pretty well. Thanks to Anon and Young Blue, if you're still there. You guys did a great job for me today. Let's see if there's a way of keeping this chat open. That's funny. Oh, and I didn't even talk about this guy in this crazy van. Uh, yeah, I'm sorry. The guy who was doing the bombing that was shown in with the van with all the crazy political stuff on it. I just that just tells you if you don't have a van with a bunch of wacky conspiracy messages on the outside of it. If something happens nearby, something happens that seems a bit out of the ordinary, some type of weird, creepy threat, people are going to say, "Hey, there's a guy that drives around in this van with all these conspiracies on the outside of it. Maybe you should look into him." Now, I'm not giving this message to anybody in particular. I don't know anyone who goes around in a van with a bunch of weird messages on the outside. I'm just saying, if you happen to be a guy who goes around in a van with a bunch of weird messages on the outside of it, you might want to rethink uh, your decision because someone's going to point you out. Just saying. Yeah, let's see. I'll pop the Discord's. Someone's asked me to mention the Discord server. I do have the Discord server up and going. I'm not on it as often. I'm not. This is the first time actually being on it today, because it's just one more thing to keep me busy. But I will pop the Discord server into the description, and feel free anybody who's on there right now to drop it into the chat log there. But yeah, I'll put it in the description so you guys can find it. And most of the time, I'm only on it. In the future, I'll probably only be on it during these live chats, but I'll check it every so often during the week, and I'll use it as a launch pad for questions. So there's a questions thread. If you have any questions, excuse me, questions for me on one of these topics, feel free to put it on the Discord server, and I'll get to it when I can. I'll probably see it more frequently than I see the YouTube ones because I get so many YouTube comments that I lose track of a lot of them. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to be signing off here. I'm going to see. I'm just basically delaying here, see if there's a way for me to leave this chat open for a while letting this go. Let's see if I can keep this thing going. I want to leave this chat open. Yeah, so yeah, no promises, folks. I'm going to try to leave this chat open. I'm not exactly sure how, but when I signed last time I tried, I signed off, but it didn't it didn't do it. So we'll see what happened. Anybody asking any more questions? Cool. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to sign out of here, and I'll be putting up a couple new videos today, actually, and so look for those, and I'll try to get on some of the other live streams that you guys have dropped. I'm gonna do a little tour and pop in on other people's live streams, and then I'll try to get back to this maybe one more time this week, and try to do this on a weekly basis. We'll figure out what day is best, and maybe through consensus, we'll figure out what a good time is. All right. Thank you, everybody, and I will talk to you again soon. Remember to think critically. Peace.